Lando Norris just made history, but the FIA might strip it all away. Right after the race, new FIA data revealed serious irregularities on Norris McLaren. Now, officials have launched a full investigation and disqualification is on the table. If the FIA confirms a breach, Norris could lose his Abu Dhabi result and the entire championship, handing the title to Max Verstappen after the checkered flag. This could be the most dramatic title reversal since 2021. So hit subscribe now and stay locked in because we're about to break down every bombshell the FIA just dropped on McLaren. Lando Norris crossed the finish line in Abu Dhabi thinking he had done it, clinched the title, delivered McLaren their first Drivers' World Championship since the late 90s, and written his name into Formula One history. The celebrations erupted instantly. Pit wall engineers jumped into each other's arms. British fans back home roared. Norris, calm on the radio but emotional in park firm, had every reason to believe the 2025 season was finally his. But within just a few hours, the tone around the paddock shifted fast. Behind the scenes, FIA data systems triggered alerts linked to Norris MCL 38. At first, it was assumed to be routine post-race analysis, something teams expect every weekend. But by the time the cars had been pushed back into their garages, senior FIA technical delegates had launched a formal inquiry. Their focus? Floor-wear irregularities, energy deployment mapping, and possible breaches in radio protocol, each of which, on their own, could trigger a post-race sanction. Together, they could alter the championship itself. Abu Dhabi's layout makes technical compliance more sensitive than ever. Low-speed chicanes, high-speed corners, and brutal curbs create extreme stress on the floor and energy systems of modern F1 cars. McLaren went aggressive in setup, riding the edge of the regulations. That's not unusual. Every top team does it. But this time, it seems something in Norris' car may have slipped out of the FIA's tolerance windows. Reports from two independent FIA inspectors confirm the plank wear on Norris' car exceeded expected degradation. In parallel, telemetry revealed suspicious energy spikes in Norris' hybrid system. These weren't massive, just marginal gains, but they came at critical moments, defending against Verstappen in the final stint, and pulling clear on the back straight when tire degradation should have been limiting power. FIA power unit analysts noticed the anomaly and pulled the logs. Under 2025 rules, energy deployment settings are locked once the race starts. If McLaren's system changed, even unintentionally, that's an automatic regulatory breach. What adds even more fuel to this explosive moment is timing. The FIA didn't announce the review before the podium ceremony. They let Norris celebrate. He lifted the trophy. McLaren cheered. Sponsors smiled. But now, everything, the win, the points, and the title hangs in the balance. If the car is found illegal in any measurable way, it won't matter how brilliant Norris drove. The title could vanish under the cold logic of Article 3.9.2 and 5.1.3 of the technical code. Adding to the chaos is the ripple effect this investigation causes. Verstappen, who finished second, remains in the shadows but with everything to gain. If Norris is disqualified or dropped far enough in classification, Verstappen would leapfrog him and claim the title not on the track, but in the FIA court. This situation echoes 1994 and even parts of 2021, when championships were reshaped by investigations, not overtakes. That is what makes this moment so tense. It's not just a race. It's a legacy. As the FIA now deepens its investigation, calling in data analysts, regulatory officers, and legal observers, McLaren is in emergency mode. The entire paddock is holding its breath. This story is no longer about who was fastest. It's about who stayed legal and who didn't. And for Lando Norris, the most important victory of his life could be reversed by numbers, not by driving. The FIA's primary concern centers around three interconnected technical areas: plank wear, energy deployment strategy, and communication protocol. Each one is governed by strict parameters in the 2025 F1 technical regulations. Starting with the floor, all cars are fitted with a plank or skid block beneath the chassis to monitor ride height. If that plank wears beyond a permitted threshold, typically 1 mm from the original 10 mm thickness, it's considered evidence the car ran too low. And in Formula One, too low means too fast. It lowers the center of gravity, increases downforce, and reduces drag. On Lando Norris' car, FIA measurements after the race showed asymmetric wear on the plank, specifically under the rear third of the floor. That's unusual. Most legal setups show even wear unless something is off in balance or calibration. The initial McLaren explanation referenced track evolution and curbing forces, but the FIA didn't find it convincing. Their simulations now suggest that Norris' car may have started the race slightly under the minimum ride height, meaning the breach wasn't accidental, it was systemic from lap 1. The second area of concern is ERS deployment, the way the hybrid system releases stored electrical energy to the rear wheels. Every team must submit their energy strategy to the FIA pre-race. Once locked, this cannot be altered or boosted manually during the race. But telemetry from Norris' car raised alarms. During laps 37 and 38, there was a noticeable increase in deployment output, especially through Sector 2. It gave him a brief power surge while defending against Verstappen, and it doesn't match the submitted deployment curve. If confirmed, that's a direct violation of Article 5.4.2, which forbids real-time alteration of energy maps outside permitted driver modes. The FIA is now cross-referencing Norris throttle input and mode switch data to see if this boost came from legitimate driver behavior or from a system glitch, or worse, an intentional override. And because Norris gained a measurable lap time benefit, even a software issue wouldn't shield him from consequences. It's a strict liability rule outcome over intent. The third element being reviewed is a radio transmission sent from Norris' race engineer at a moment that coincided with the suspected ERS spike. The phrase, "keep delta and push as planned," is under review for possible breach of Article 8.6.2, which restricts coded messages related to performance settings. FIA Race Control flagged it because of the timing, not the wording itself. The concern is whether McLaren used approved phrasing to mask an illegal energy mode switch. If so, it would compound the breach and potentially elevate the sanction from time penalty to full disqualification. Historically, the FIA has taken a firm stance on these issues. In 2023, both Mercedes and Aston Martin were disqualified in Austin for excessive floor wear. In 2021, Sebastian Vettel lost a podium at the Hungarian Grand Prix due to a fuel irregularity, even though the car had finished the race legally in second place. The key point? Post-race inspections override on-track results. The moment the car fails technical checks, the finish becomes irrelevant. That's why McLaren's engineers are working around the clock not to win on track, but to prove legality off it. If Norris is found in breach of either the plank wear regulation or the hybrid deployment rule, let alone both, the penalty could be immediate disqualification from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. If the FIA stops short of that, they could still issue a 30-second post-race penalty, which would drop Norris to 6th place or lower, enough to cost him the World Championship. Either way, Verstappen would move up and secure the title. This is no longer speculation. The rules are written. The precedent is clear. And the FIA, for now, isn't blinking. Inside the McLaren garage, the celebration has turned into silence. What began as a historic day for the Woking-based team has now spiraled into panic and containment. Engineers who were just hours ago hugging each other under the podium lights are now locked in emergency meetings. McLaren's technical department is under immense pressure, pouring through data logs, sensor feeds, and floor wear patterns, trying to piece together a defense that might save not just a race result, but an entire championship. Everyone knows what's at stake and that there's no margin for error. Lando Norris, the man at the center of it all, has vanished from the spotlight. After lifting the trophy and giving what could be his final race interview as world champion, Norris has gone radio silent. His PR team has cancelled all scheduled appearances, and insiders suggest he's being shielded from the escalating investigation to keep his mental state stable. But behind closed doors, it's clear the young Brit is rattled. How could a race he drove so perfectly now be under threat from something he can't control? Norris, on track, knows the championship could land in his lap without him turning another wheel. Christian Horner has instructed the team to avoid fueling speculation. But make no mistake, behind the scenes, Red Bull's legal and technical team is already preparing. If Norris is penalized, Verstappen becomes a four-time world champion not by overtaking, but by outlasting a rival who may have stepped outside the rules. The Verstappen camp's silence is powerful. It sends a message: Red Bull doesn't need to fight this. They just need to wait. The longer the investigation goes, the more pressure shifts back onto McLaren. And in Formula One, perception matters. Sponsors, media, and fans are already wondering whether McLaren pushed too far. Red Bull, meanwhile, looks calm, clean, and ready to inherit the spoils. It's a ruthless, but effective, contrast, and one that may tip public opinion before the FIA even announces a decision. In the paddock, other teams are watching closely. Mercedes, Ferrari, and Aston Martin have all dealt with FIA scrutiny in the past, and none of them are eager to see post-race penalties determine titles. But there's also a sense of inevitability growing. The FIA doesn't open this level of investigation unless it already sees a breach. And once that breach is confirmed, the outcome rarely favors the team under fire. For Norris and McLaren, this means one thing: unless they can produce bulletproof evidence, the title is slipping away. And for the fans, the emotional impact is massive. Norris' rise through the ranks has been one of the most popular storylines in modern F1. A driver from Bristol, mentored by Alonso, raised by McLaren, finally reaching the summit only to see it crumble not in a crash or a mechanical failure, but in the cold world of technical regulations. It's the kind of heartbreak that defines an era. And as we await the FIA's verdict, one question echoes louder than all others: will this be remembered as Norris' triumph or his tragedy?